Hello, I'm Renee Paquette-Dowdy, Assistant Director for Staffing and Training in the Office of Residence Life. Welcome to the RA information session. I'm looking forward to going over with you a few important details about the RA role. So first is to know we're going to go over the position expectations and qualifications, the actual application itself, how to apply via Handshake, the platform that we utilize to be able to collect all the applicant information, what the ideal candidate involves, important dates and details. We'll show you the money and go over compensation, and finally, how you can go about getting your questions answered at the end. So first, in terms of the position expectations and the qualifications for the RA role, there are a few things that are really important to us to be able to ensure that you are prepared for the RA role and you have the necessary qualifications and experiences to be prepared for that. So first is knowing that in terms of the position expectations themselves, we can really categorize them as falling into three areas. One is community, which is really building relationships among others on the floor, being able to really know your residents well enough to help them to draw connections among one another, and knowing the campus community enough to be able to direct those who live on your floor to necessary campus resources. Safety. So that ability to be able to look and see and notice if someone has a change in behavior, to be able to care for the integrity of the policies that guide our community to ensure that everyone has a safe and fulfilling living experience. And finally, the other area is administration. Much more behind the scenes, likely the area that if you know a current RA, they don't talk about very much, but these are some of the elements that really help to ensure that others know and are aware of what's happening in floor communities, so that way we can provide support. So that comes in the form of incident report writing, so following an incident, being able to complete that, weekly reports that go to your supervising hall director that help them to know what's going on and to be able to support you. And finally, some of the information that we log and note as it relates to what we're seeing in the facilities of the building and your observations as you are able to see and experience on a daily basis because you live on your floor. So in terms of those expectations, it's important to note that there are a variety of meetings that take place as part of the RA role. One of them includes one-on-ones with residents. We hope that if you're a current resident of ours, you've experienced having a one-on-one with your RA. We have formal one-on-ones that occur 4 times a year as really important touch points to be able to provide support and to be able to enhance the community building that we look to be able to ensure that all residents get to experience. You have a supervisor, so you'll have a full-time residence hall director or an assistant hall director who you will report to, and they are there really to be able to provide guidance and advice and support to you as you encounter a variety of circumstances in the RA role. You'll have an entire staff team, so you're never in this role alone. You'll be surrounded by a team anywhere from 10 to 18 others who are able to support you in the work of the RA. And finally, the Office of Residence Life. There's an entire central staff, including assistant directors like myself, an associate director, and our executive director, who are all invested in the work of residence life. So it's really critical to note that you are one component among a really larger chain of support that's available and is here to be able to ensure that the residence life experience is really outstanding for our residents and for you as a potential employee. So it's important to note some start dates. At the very end, we'll go over a variety of dates to make sure that you are feeling clear and have the correct information on what to expect. But first is to note that there will be a spring training date hosted on a Wednesday evening that will be a date selected by your hall director if selected for the RA role. It is really important to note that RA training will begin on August 10th. That is your move-in date. And it's important to note that that is really non-negotiable. RA training, especially for first-year RAs, is essential to be able to be prepared for the role. So there really is not flexibility to be able to accommodate those dates. So something important to keep in mind if you are navigating dates with an internship or another summer employment opportunity, that would be something you would want to keep in mind. For the position expectations, training will occur from August 11th through August 25th, so when we open the building. There'll be a variety of responsibilities that you'll have, including your receiving training yourself. You'll receive about 55 hours of training over the course of 2 weeks, and then followed by that, we're going to open our buildings together, and so you'll be a critical part of helping to create a welcoming environment for every new and returning student who's joining us on campus in fall 2019. In terms of qualifications, by the time that you start the position on August 10th, you will need to have had 2 semesters of live-on experience, so time that you've had in a community living environment. You need to have a 2.5 GPA both at time of application as well as on August 10th. So those are both 2 really important qualifications. And the reason for that is we want to ensure that in taking on this 20-hour per week position, that you are not doing so during a time where you may have some other academic areas that need your time and attention. We have other employment opportunities if perhaps something that doesn't have as high of a time commitment as an RA position might be a better fit at this time, but we want to make sure that academically you are in a sound place before you add on the additional responsibility of the RA role. You need to be in good standing with Marquette. Your conduct record will be checked at time of application and throughout your time as an employee. So it's critical that if you are currently on university probation, that would make you ineligible for the position. If you've had other types of severe conduct violations, those things would make you ineligible. I will reach out to you following running the conduct record if there is anything that's concerning in regards to that. You're welcome to reach out to me in advance of applying if you have questions or concerns regarding your conduct record with the university. So next, you need to be eligible for student employment on campus, knowing that you will complete an I-9 form and other elements such as that. You will need to be able to submit a complete application, so ensuring that you have completed all components of what we ask for, which we will review in a moment. And finally, that you have availability for the RA role. Positions that may involve where you are being on co-op, student teaching, things along those lines would all be opportunities where the RA position would not be a good fit with that. Especially for things such as co-op or student teaching where you are essentially working full-time. RAs are only eligible to work 10 hours of outside employment outside of the RA role. What we know is that if students are exceeding 30 hours of employment, it begins to have a detriment on their academic success. And again, we want you to have a great experience as an RA, but we also don't want it to be a detriment to your personal academic success and progress at Marquette. We also expect that you're a role model. This is a critical role in our communities, and residents will be looking to you to be able to help set up their communities for success and to guide what is appropriate or inappropriate in the experiences that they have as a Marquette student. So it's important that you remain in good standing with Marquette, and we mean that both in terms of your academics and in terms of our standards of conduct. So in terms of the application itself, let's dive into some of the good stuff. So first, we want you to complete the following. On Handshake, which is Marquette Career Services platform for anyone who is looking at the RA role, we ask that you submit a resume, that you submit an essay response, and that you will sign up for an individual interview. You will do all of that within the Handshake platform. The only thing that you will submit that's outside of Handshake is one reference, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So in terms of that letter of recommendation, we ask that you only submit one. Last year we had well over 200 applicants, and imagine if everyone submitted 2 or 3 letters of recommendation instead of the only one that we ask for. So truly, if more than one is submitted, we will only look at the first one that we receive. So it's really critical that all candidates adhere to that standard that we have set. Ideally, we ask that your reference is a current or recent RA. We really want to gain perspective from someone who knows this role inside and out based upon seeing you in a community living environment and your preparedness to be able to take on that role. However, in some cases, we know that your current or recent RA may not be the appropriate person to ask, whether that's based on your relationship with that person, your RA has left that semester, or for whatever reason, your RA may not be the person for you. If that is the case, we highly recommend that your person who's submitting for you is someone who has seen you managing your peers, and whether that looks like having been a former camp counselor, perhaps it's work that you did in a church or other faith environment where someone has been able to see you mentor and guide your peers. If you've been a teaching assistant and you have a professor who can speak to that, all of those would be outstanding people to speak to your abilities for the RA role. Who would not be good recommenders would include anyone who is your family. So truly a recommender who is your family or related to you is definitely not a good recommendation to have for this employment opportunity or any, largely because they do have a bias in regards to probably loving and caring for you and wanting the best for you, which we really appreciate, but doesn't really speak to someone who can look at it a bit more objectively as a current RA or a past employer would be able to do. Asking a faculty member is also something that you should be cautious about. If this is simply a faculty member who has seen you in class and doing your coursework, they probably are not the best person to be able to speak to your abilities as a potential RA. As compared to if you've been a teaching assistant or a research assistant, and that faculty member can speak to really how you have worked with peers, how you've navigated conflict, that would be a great example of someone who could really speak to that. So I really recommend to exercise thoughtfulness about who that one recommender would be. Again, there's a link that we have available on our website that you can share with your recommender, and they can submit that recommendation online. And again, this is all separate from Handshake. Unfortunately, those two processes can't meet on the same platform at present. And so we have just kind of these two different forms that you need to complete, the Handshake application and then the recommendation form as well. So then in terms of your essay, we have a template available on our website, so feel free to head there to be able to take a look at that. You submit this with your application. So when you load documents to Handshake, you actually want to load all your documents to your profile first, then you can select them and add them to the job to which you want to apply. Some advice in terms of the essay is to reread, proofread, and reread again. I highly recommend to read the essay out loud to yourself, as silly as it may sound, and to be able to read each sentence backwards, which helps you to be able to pick up on if you may have an error that you didn't catch when you're just kind of reading it and sort of glossing over the words. Two recommendations I have in general for editing papers that you may find to be helpful. One area where oftentimes some candidates may fall short is not utilizing the essay opportunity enough to be able to tell your story and to share an example. So we don't expect to have pages of essay to read, but even if you have a solid 500 words that helps to paint a picture for us of an experience that you've had, that is far more strong than when there is an essay response that doesn't give any examples and doesn't give us any insight on who you are. We want to learn more about you. That's the beauty of the written essay response, and I encourage you to take advantage of that. In terms of your resume, Career Services is an incredibly helpful resource in guiding you on what an appropriate resume should look like. We do also have a template on our website to help to guide you as well. We encourage you to use your resources. So to be thoughtful about what's available to you through Career Services on our website, online, of looking at what a good resume looks like. Your resume really should not exceed 2 pages. We have seen some over the years that are several pages long, and that to me sometimes indicates that there hasn't been as much editing taking place. No doubt you have some valuable experiences. Feel free to speak to some great leadership experiences that you've had in high school or employment experiences you've had prior to coming to Marquette, but be thoughtful about how far you're expanding upon those and the way in which you're formatting that. And again, the resume, just like the essay, you'll want to load to your Handshake profile in advance of actually applying for the job. So the Handshake application itself, let's walk through a couple steps that you should know about that. So first, there are 2 parts to the Handshake application. First is the individual interview, and that's a part that you will take care of by our deadline of January 15th. That is the portion where you will load your essay to and your resume to. Then there will be a group process interview that you will be eligible to be able to utilize later. You will not need to worry about that right now, and we'll chat a little bit more about group process in a moment. For the individual interview, we do have a video with instructions available on our website for you to take a look at. Again, you want to load those documents first to your Handshake profile, then apply for the position. Once you apply for the position, it will prompt you to select one interview time that you can utilize. For the individual interview, you'll need to submit your resume and essay. You will select a 30-minute interview, and the location will happen at Marquette Career Services. This year, we have 3 dates available, which include Wednesday afternoon, Thursday all day, and Friday all day in late January. So then group process, you will need to be invited to sign up following your individual interview. Within 48 hours of your individual interview, you will find out whether or not you have been moved on to group process, and you will be prompted to sign up for that. Those group process selection opportunities are available on a first come, first served basis. And we do hold some interview slots available in each time slot for each interview day. So all the dates won't be available to the Wednesday afternoon folks. We'll make sure that there are plenty of dates available in each of the interview times. Not all candidates, unfortunately, will receive a group process interview. We really look carefully and thoughtfully at your individual interview and your experiences before we offer a group process interview. So save the date for Friday, February 8th to be able to participate in group process. Again, you will know if you've been extended an offer to group process, but I would really caution you that if you're looking at travel plans that day, if there's any way to have flexibility to hold off on your plans that day until you know about group process, it will afford you more opportunities to sign up for available times. Interviews will be offered between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Interviews are each 90 minutes, and so that will include an initial non-evaluated time to help you to get to know others in your group process group, the actual group process experience itself, which will be about 16 minutes, and then about 10 minutes available for you for individual reflection to share your final thoughts about how your experience went, anything else that you want those who are hiring to know about you, and to share more insight about your application. And the group interview will take place in Strass Tower Residence Hall. That is important to note that it is not Strass Tower Business, but Strass Tower Residence Hall located on 9th and Wisconsin. We will emphasize that again as we get closer to group process as well. And again, that format of that is 90 minutes. So that would be the total time that you would be participating. So next is about the ideal candidate. That's one of the most popular questions that I receive each year, and I love to be able to give some insight on what we're looking for. It is really helpful to note that the RA position is not a cookie cutter role. It's not a one size fits all. There is not just one type of Marquette student who makes a great RA. If there were, we wouldn't have such an extensive process of an essay, an interview, a group process to be able to get to know you and to get to see where you may fit within one of our staff teams and one of our building communities. Know that we are really thoughtful about where RAs are placed. A common question that I'm asked is, do I get to select which building that I get to be in? And the short answer to that is no, but it's with good reason. We really look to be able to match candidates with where they will be able to best thrive, the environments where they can best contribute their gifts and talents and skills, and where they'll be in a staff team that their talents will be able to help to complement the talents of both the returning staff and the other new staff who are hired. We need really extroverted and cheerleading RAs as much as we need folks who are more introverted and who may be more prone to take a step back and observe before jumping in to make a contribution. There really is room at the table for a variety of people, personalities, thought processes, backgrounds, and that's what we really hope to be able to have available on our RA staff teams. Most important is that we look for people who are confident in their own skin. We're looking for individuals who know who they are and who are unafraid to go knock on a door to be able to help to talk to someone, or who are unafraid to send that email first to be able to check in. RAs need to be proactive, and to be proactive, you need to feel confident in who you are and what you are bringing to the table in this role. We look for folks who have a willingness to learn. You undergo 55 hours of training because we believe that there's a lot of information that we want to be able to prepare you with and skills that we want you to be able to enhance to be successful in this role. If you believe that you already know all of it and you don't have room for growth, this may be a really difficult position to be in because all of us in our department believe we're works in progress who have a lot to learn and a lot to gain from one another. So we look for people who really enjoy learning. We look for folks who have an ability to connect with their peers. There needs to be present strong social skills to be able to connect with others, to be able to care for them, and to be able to be thoughtful in those one-on-one conversations. And again, there is no one-size-fits-all personality for the RA role. This is why we have so many steps in the process. Finally, we really look for people who have a sense of curiosity about others, who have a care and have an interest in the human conditions of others, and that really remains a critical element of being able to be a successful RA. So here are some really important dates to keep in mind. First is that the application is due by 11:59 p.m. on January 15th. This will be the Tuesday after you return for the spring semester. The interviews will happen on January 23rd, 24th, or 25th. So that's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the end of January. There is a typo here in the slide, and I apologize for that. For group process, again, save the date for February 8th, and then hiring notification will go out on or before February 25th. So that will be far in advance of housing selection time. Other important dates to note is that there is a deadline to accept the position by March 8th. Spring training, again, will take place in April with a date to be determined by your supervising hall director. And then there also is an opportunity to store some items for the spring. Again, storage is really limited, knowing that you could be on a staff of 16 RAs and you need to share some limited storage space with others. We really encourage you to be thoughtful about what items you place into storage and that they are the most critical pieces that need to be placed there. For summer dates, you may be requested to do some online training in advance. For August training, again, move-in date would be August 10th, and you would actually start training on August 11th. And then move-in occurs next year, August 23rd to August 26th, so we would really invite your involvement in regards to that. For semester commitments, each RA is expected to participate in the 1-credit RA class, which is Mark 1500. When hired, we'll provide you with guidance on how to enroll for that, beginning with course enrollment in the spring. You will also commit to Wednesday night staff meetings, which is really important to note. All RAs are asked to be thoughtful about any evening classes they are taking and to avoid night classes on Wednesdays. And then finally, there'll be various in-service trainings and ongoing development that happens throughout the year that you will be asked to participate in. So compensation, some important things to note. You will receive a single room and a meal plan, which are valued at $13,500, and then also receive a stipend of $1,090 that's distributed bi-weekly throughout the academic year. Note that your compensation could impact your financial aid. It is really critical that you contact Marquette Central to gain clarity on that. That is an area that myself, a hall director, or a current RA cannot provide guidance on because your financial aid package is so individual to who you are and your experiences at Marquette. So finally, we really thank you for participating and for being a part of this webinar today. Those who participated in the live information session had a bit of opportunity to mix and mingle with other hall directors and current RAs. You have not missed out on an opportunity to do that, though. I really encourage you to touch base with one of our fantastic hall directors and to gain some insight from them on what do they look for, what's really valuable in the RA role, what are some things that someone living on a floor may not know occur behind the scenes in the residence hall that the RA is asked to participate in. You're welcome to contact me in regards to questions as well. And in addition, we have 132 amazing RAs on campus who also would be eager to share some insight on their experiences with you. I look forward to seeing your application by January 15th. I hope that you enjoy a wonderful winter break, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2019.